Hello everyone, today I'm playing the Genshin Impact card game and I'm using the CoKe Stimulation deck. The name comes from Collei and Quicken, so CoKe and Oz. Well, okay, Oz isn't a cock, he's a raven, but they're basically the same thing. And the stimulation comes from the fact that Google says stimulate is a synonym for quicken, which is the reaction used in this deck. So yeah, in case you don't know what Quicken does, it makes your next two instances of Dendro or Electro damage deal 1 extra damage. And if you've ever played Paper Mario before, you'll know that 1 extra damage is a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. It also stacks with the +1 damage from the reaction itself, so if you have the buff active already, it'll deal 2 extra damage. Wow. There are some variations of aggravate decks, but this one has double Electro with Visual and Quicken. Oh, Visual is almost mandatory because she can apply Electro twice with 1 attack, so 1 when she attacks and then 1 at the end phase. Quicken is also nice to have for her elemental skill recast, which lets you switch and attack at the same time. Having 2 Electro also gives you access to the Resonance, which gives your active character a point of energy. Technically you can also give energy to your non-active characters, but I've never used it like that. This Collei deck has a Floral Sidewinder talent card, which lets you set up a round 1 KO, but it doesn't work if the opponent has healing, damage reduction, or just switches. My opponent actually didn't do any of those things. He could have with Xingqiu, but he didn't, he just used normal attack. So I actually could have just ended the game there, because if this kind of deck loses Xingqiu, he just loses. But of course, I didn't actually get the talent card round 1, so no easy win for me. I ended up just using Paimon and setting up Oz round 1. The Crane Returns is actually a really good card. I remember thinking it sucked, but it almost is like using U-turn in Pokemon. It let me pivot on round 1 to Collei without spending an extra turn, but my opponent ended first anyways. He had 4 unused dies, but then I noticed his Liben card only got charged by 2 points, so I don't know, I guess he did an oopsie there. Maybe he could have switched to Bennett and tuned the dice to Pyro, assuming he had too much Hydra, but I don't know, maybe he had 2 Pyro and 2 Hydra and just got goobed. Round 2, I just hammer him with Collei's elemental skill. It's basically the only thing I can do, but it's not a bad thing to do. It chips his Xingqiu and ends up setting up a Bloom reaction, which I didn't actually expect, but what that does is it makes my next Electro attack deal 2 more damage. And remember, 2 is a lot of damage, but it actually doesn't even matter in this situation because I end up just switching to Quicken and taking my kill. I was considering letting Oz do it, but I don't have a Liven in hand. Honestly, even if I did, spending all my dice this turn isn't a terrible idea since Oz will chip Yoimiya at round end. I basically have to sack someone to Yoimiya, and I choose to use one of my dice cards to switch to Official. Her damage output is low, which is fine early game, but sucks late game. And she also won't die instantly, which gives me a chance to set up Oz again. I feel like maybe he could have used 2 of his dice to switch to Yoimiya and set up her elemental skill rather than using a normal attack with Xingqiu, but maybe he just didn't want Yoimiya to take a lot of damage from my attack with Quicken. I'm speeding up the regular gameplay here because what I said is going to happen is happening, just very slowly. I only realized that games are actually pretty long once I started recording them. This is actually one of the faster ones, and it includes the speed up on the dice rolls and the load times. But yeah, I get my Oz up, Visual's at 1 HP, and I don't have a fast switch, so I just use another normal attack, which puts him into range of Collei's elemental skill. He ends up healing though, which means I don't get the kill right away, but honestly, even if he didn't heal, I probably would have popped the burst anyways for the Dendro application, like after the attack, since Yoimiya would have died to Oz round end anyways. I could have maybe healed Collei, but it only would have forced him to burst, which he does anyways, and losing Collei at this point in the game isn't a huge deal since I have her little puppet up. I spent my last dice on gamblers, but in hindsight, it might have been a slightly better idea to use the Electro Resonance this turn instead. I end up using it later anyways, but The reason I think this is because he ends up switching to Bennett rather than sacking Yoimiya, but at this point he's kind of goobed because his Bennett takes 6 damage from this summon. 6 damage, it's a shit ton of damage. His Bennett takes a ton of damage, and I have Quicken up, which means my next attack my next attack next round just guarantees a kill, and my Kuching's at full health. He has no burst damage, so yeah, he's kind of goobed. I'm just gonna speed up the rest of this because yeah, I don't know if he played the best, but I don't know. I think I'm just the better player here. At the end, I actually flex on him with my superior resource management. I could have just normal attacked after the skill since I had Electro Infusion and the aggravate reaction bonus, so a normal attack would have done 3 damage and killed him anyways, but you know, I have to flex. I have to show him, hey, look how much dice I have, look how much cards I have to tune. I'm just so awesome at this game.
Cut to the chase.
Yeah, that's the win. I'm better. I'm more good at this game. This is a mirror match, and that means that the cheeks are slightly more clenched up than usual, you know, because, oh, he's using the same deck as me, almost the same deck as me. I better win, because if I lose, it means I'm worser than him in all aspects. I get a pretty good starting hand here, especially considering that it's the mirror. Floral Sidewinder on round 1 isn't really valuable, since they're basically guaranteed to switch at some point, but starting with Thundering Penance lets me set up for the endgame and does the most damage before they inevitably switch. But what happens here is that he wins the coin flip for the first move, and what he ends up doing is that he sets up Oz while using the Crane Returns to pivot to Collei immediately, which threatens me with that round 1 KO I mentioned earlier. I didn't explain it, but the way Floral Sidewinder works is that it costs 4 Dendro dice, and after using Collei's elemental skill, if that attack or any other attack performed later in the round triggers an elemental reaction, the target takes 1 more Dendro damage after the fact. The way the round 1 KO works is that you apply Electro and deal 1 damage with Oz with Official, and you switch to Collei, and with Floral Sidewinder you deal 4 damage, 3 plus 1 thanks to Quicken reaction, and then its talent effect activates. You deal 1 Dendro damage after, but actually it's 2 Dendro damage because of the aggravate damage bonus, so that's 7 damage so far. And then at the round end, if they haven't switched off that same target, Oz will attack and deal 3 damage, 1 inherently, 1 from triggering aggravate, and 1 from the previous aggravate damage. But I'm pretty sure it's actually called Quicken. I'm pretty sure I've said aggravate when Quicken is technically correct, but whatever, doesn't matter what's called. Basically, makes big numbers. So it's 7 plus 3 damage on round end, which kills you. Again, they can switch, heal, or use damage reduction, but in the mirror, getting a huge damage lead like this is almost game ending. So, you know, I'm pooping my pants right now. I'm so scared of this. So I end up using Catherine to switch out, and I'm lucky enough to get 2 Kokomis, or 2 strategizes, but I also get a Liven, so I can deny that Quicken reaction on round 1 and have both a dice and move advantage going into round 2. I go official because I haven't applied any Electro yet, and I need to keep Collei as healthy as possible for as long as possible. I end up doing what he did around 1, except I have Liu Su on the field. I hope I'm saying that right, but I have Liu Su on the field to charge Collei with an energy point, but he still has the energy advantage because of Floral Brush on round 1. He ends up equipping the Lucky Dog artifact, which undoes some of my damage, but it also means he can't burst this round unless he has an extra dice card, but he either didn't or just didn't use it. I mean, he could have not equipped it, but maybe he also just didn't have enough Dendro dice to attack twice in a row, which would require him to spend a ton of cards on tuning, so maybe he didn't want to do that, or maybe he just wanted to keep his Collei healthy. But he saves his burst, and I want to save my second Crane Returns for my Collei burst, so I just use Floral Brush. He ends his round before I do, but he drips out his Fisher with a second copy of the Lucky Dog artifact, which I thought was pretty funny. I don't want to stay in here with Collei because of the Oz, but at the same time I can't switch to Official because then she just dies to Floral Brush for no reason. So I have to stay in with Collei here and heal her instead. As long as she gets her burst up, it's fine, especially since she'll switch out right after. He starts off his round by switching to Official, probably because his Collei can't kill mine, and also because that prevents me from triggering Quicken with the initial hit of my Collei's burst. But I'm gonna burst anyways, I'm happy with that, because I'll be switching straight into Kuching, and then on the following attack I can just use Stellar Restoration to trigger Quicken. But then he hits me with a dastardly play. He uses Send Off, which is the Huta card that kills the summon, and he kills my Collei Nambar. Poor guy, but he's not done yet. He uses a fast switch, Noelle card, switches to Collei and hits me with Floral Brush, which is, you know, just ouchie. Oof, Floral Brush, 5 damage. Ouchie, oof, Quicken. Ouchie, oof, he healed himself. It's all going downhill. But it's okay. It's okay. I mean, if you showed this game state to anyone and asked them who they thought won this match, they would probably guess wrong. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Spoiler, spoiler. What am I saying? Spoiler, spoiler. I would never show myself losing. That's lame. Anyways, I hit him with a no-you, sort of, by equipping my own Lucky Dog artifact, and I heal myself out of Floral Brush range again. But this time I'm healing Kuching, not Collei. And then I use a dice card to switch and start the next round with Collei, which he still can't KO in one hit. Round 4, he goes for Floral Brush with Collei, and I'm thinking, you know, if he's using 2 attacks that kill Collei, I'm fine with that, so I just use my own Floral Brush in return. It does good damage and refreshes Quicken, but on his second action, he actually switches to Official. I don't know if he didn't have the dice for a second attack. I mean, he had enough cards to tune in case he had 0 Dendro dice, but maybe he didn't want to do that. But I don't know if switching to Official was the right play, because as soon as he does it, I'm thinking, yo, it's Kuching time. Because I have Stellar Restoration, I hit him with that. Does fat 5 damage, and it also triggers Thundering Penance, which is a talent card I equipped earlier. What that does is that it changes all my normal attack physical damage to electro damage, and also boosts all the electro damage that Kuching does by 1. And remember, 1 is a lot of damage, so being able to not only activate that talent, but also refresh Quicken and deal that much damage in the process is actually big. I don't know why he switched to Official. He ends up ending his round first, but not before dropping that Favonius Cathedral to heal himself. Again, I use this opportunity to start next round with whoever I want. In this case, Official, again, because she can set up Oz, and because she's not that good in the end game, because of her low damage. I also use that last die to heal Kuching for as much HP as possible, because I know I'm definitely going to need all of it.
No rest for the wicked.
At the start of next round, we trade Oz hits, and after that happens, he switches to Collei, but it's not a fast switch. So it becomes my turn, and I look at my hand, I'm thinking, hey, I have a fast switch. I completely forget I have Catherine. I look at my hand, I'm thinking, hey, I have a fast switch. And I look at my cards on the field, and I'm thinking, wait a second, I have a lot of other things too. And I make a big brain, satisfying play. I'm able to get a second burst up for Collei by using Electro Resonance and the Bestest Travel Companion.
I'll ensure your safety.
And because of the Quicken reaction I triggered earlier, my burst also KOs his Collei, which is it's just beautiful. It's poetry in motion. My opponent is obviously flabbergasted by how intelligent I am, and he has to take a second to regroup. And he ends up playing Catherine and another Thelonious Cathedral. And he ends his round first again. How does he do it? How does he always end his round first? But you know, that's fine. My Kuching's happy and healthy, so I just end my round 2, and then after Collei sacrifices herself, I switch to her. After his attack, I'm a little too happy to press the big purple button that I end up doing a small oopsie. It would have been slightly more optimal to click Gamblers before I click Starwood Sword, which would give me one more dice than I have right now. But I call it a small oopsie because I would have been able to win even without equipping that. I would have been able to win on this round. But I do a second oopsie, and this one's a little bit bigger. I forget that the +1 electro damage from Thundering Penance applies to all electro damage dealt by Kuching, not just her normal attacks. I don't even check to see how much damage her elemental skill does, but it would have done 5 because it's 3 inherently, +1 from Catalyze, and +1 from Thundering Penance. But I just click normal attack, and right when I do, I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not a closer, I'm a choker, I'm a choker. He has 2 Favonius Cathedrals on his side. I'm gooped. I don't know what overcame me in that moment, what inspired me to click normal attack. But even if it did only do 4 damage, it would have still been optimal because I would have healed myself for 2. So I'm thinking, oh no, did I just choke? Did I just choke? The answer is no. I'm simply making it close for the content, as a great Clash Royale YouTuber once said. So I clutch up, I switch to Fischl to sack the Osset, and I'm praying to God that he doesn't have like Adeptus Temptation to kill both my guys. I'm so scared. I'm gonna speed it up, but I'm so scared because all that matters here is, does he have the card that lets him win in one hit? If not, then I win. And he doesn't. He doesn't have it. I'm thinking, let's go. Let's go. I'm a closer. I'm a closer. We don't choke. We don't choke. But then I searched it up after the game. Apparently Adeptus Temptation doesn't boost piercing damage on elemental bursts, so there was actually no way for me to lose this, even with that massive blunder at the game. Kanye West will not be wrapping this game. So yeah, it was definitely a scare in the moment. I was thinking, oh god, oh my god, thank god he didn't have it. But I would have won anyways. And I think that just goes to show how good I am. Collei Bloom decks are pretty uncommon. I feel like the setup is too much of a hassle to really pay off, especially considering that Dendro cores can't stack. But for me, you know, I'll take all the variety I can get. Can't have all the games be versus the same deck.
Let's go.
But the reason I chose to include this mat isn't because it's against Collei Bloom, but Kuching puts in a ton of work this game. He's just so strong in the end game under the right conditions. I get a pretty good starting hand. I've got the talent card, an investment card, a dice card, Kokumi, and a healing card. I could, you know, in theory get a better one. Maybe if I got like Portal Sidewinder, but it's too greedy, so I just stick with what I have. The dice rolls I always speed through because they're pretty self-explanatory. You pretty much just roll dice for the attacks you want to use. In this case, I keep the 3 Anemo dice for Paimon, especially since I didn't get any Omni dice the first roll around. My opponent led Cyno, which I always found kind of weird since usually all these decks with Mona just lead Mona. I was thinking maybe he wanted to trigger Quicken first before triggering Bloom, but then he just uses a normal attack, which makes me think his dice roll might have just been complete garbage. I keep it simple and just play Paimon and Thundering Penance. And then on his next action, he plays a ton of support cards and ends his turn, which again leaves me to believe his roll was trash. This deck is also kind of vulnerable to bad dice rolls since you almost always want multiple dice of 1 or 2 color for attacks. Best is Travel Companion, and the Ningguang card help to alleviate this. On round 2, he starts off by switching to Collei, which gives me a turn advantage when we trade floral brushes here. but I have a lightning stiletto up my sleeve, so I use it. This moment specifically might have just screwed him over for the rest of the game, because now his Collei is in KO range of Kuching's normal attack, so he's forced to switch if he wants a chance at applying Dendro or getting his burst off late game. I'm happy to tune a die to Electro for normal attack because it's doing 4 damage with all the buffs. Now might have been a good time for him to use an elemental skill with Cyno to try and heal up and potentially scare me out. He ends up not doing that though, either because his roll was trash again, or because he wants the turn advantage next round. I would usually switch in this scenario, but because I have a full powered burst, I decide to stay in and just spend my last die on healing instead. At the end of the round I end up pulling a certain card that is pretty good in this scenario. It's not Liben, he's good in every scenario. He starts this round by using a talent card that makes him use a skill, so he heals up. I keep trying to read the description of his card, trying to find out what the hell that stacking thing does, but it always gets cut off by an animation, so I usually just say screw it, I'm just not going to find out. Even while editing this, I still don't know what it does. All I know is that big number equals good. Even with the healing from Cyno's elemental skill, team just takes a ton of damage from Kuching's elemental burst. He tries switching to Mona to try and preserve some of Cyno's HP, but again I'm happy to just spend the die on a normal attack. I end up having exactly 3 dice left. Woohoo, Liben time, or should I say minty meat roll time. Even though I don't have turn advantage, I will have dice advantage next turn, as well as a damage lead, and he's stuck on Mona, who isn't going to do a ton of damage to Kuching, and that's almost like a perfect setup to abuse minty meat rolls to its fullest. I feel like that card might be kind of overpowered, but at the same time you need to use 7 dice at once to get the most use out of it. I looked it up and apparently this card was already nerfed to a limit of 3 as opposed to having a limit of nothing before. So I don't know, maybe Mihoyo was being nice, or maybe they playtested it and nerfing it down to 2 kills it or something. It definitely does not look balanced here though. I think I'll just let the gameplay speak for itself on this one.
The stars are fading. With sword comes shadow. A forest ranger forever.
In death, a new cycle begins.
Klee Overlord is definitely an uncommon type of overload deck. They can be tricky to deal with, what with all the forced switching and all, but you do have Kuching's Stellar Restoration as an attack you can perform with any character active. And this deck is pretty good at forcing switches itself due to its high damage reactions.
Time is against us.
I actually win the coin flip this time and get the Floral Sidewinder card in my starting hand, which is pretty epic. But I figured that I'll lead with Fischl, so I'm not too optimistic about using around 1. He ends up leading Bennett though, which isn't a bad lead, but I really thought he would want Electro up first, which is why I went Kuching. Though I also went Kuching because I got Thundering Penance in one of my rerolls. I make an oopsie here on my switch to Collei. I confused my brain into thinking that the switch was free, and at the same time I thought I could tune the free switch card so that I could use Electro Resonance on Collei after her attack. But
Forest Ranger Collei,
yeah, I
reporting.
just got confused. I wouldn't have tuned any other card. This whole time he stays in with Bennett. I figured he might be scared out after I switched to Collei, but no, he is still normal attacking. So I get to hit him with a fat floral sidewinder. And because Kuching's upfront electro damage is higher, he's at 1 HP after 2 attacks. I don't get the funny round 1 Oko, but yeah, that is a lot of damage. Unfortunately, he actually does have the resources to play a Paimon card because he used a Pyro die earlier in the round, so he does get that round advantage and the dice advantage, but I'm not too worried since I figure I can still get my own burst up right after this and also kill him. Round 2 starts about as you expect. We trade bursts, but for some reason it's super long, so I'm just gonna speed this up. Bennett's burst seems kind of ridiculous on paper, considering the fact that it's 2 energy cost, and you can use it an infinite amount of times within 2 rounds. I don't know if I'd call it broken, but it definitely does feel strong. He switches to Klee here and attacks for 5 damage, and I was like, oh crap. I don't really know what I was expecting there, but yeah, to think that if he just used a weapon, I would have just lost Collei makes the burst play in hindsight seem a little risky, but it might have been okay because I did get Collei Nanbar up on the field to trigger Quicken. After Collei survives, I do fast switch to official and do a bit of tuning to set up Oz. I choose Oz over Paimon because again I have Collei Nanbar on the field to trigger Quicken. What the hell? I'm the only one allowed to do 4 damage normal attacks. Whatever, I get the round advantage, so who cares? He switches to official here, which I'm okay with. He probably did it so that his Klee didn't take too much damage. I'm fine with getting hit with Overlord though, because it gives me a free switch to Collei, and then she can click Floral Brush to get another kill. I also happen to get the Crane Returns here, which means that I can also U-turn out to Kuching.
I summon thee! By royal decree!
This is where it gets a little bit tricky. I am up 3-1, but after his Klee's burst, all of my characters are at 3 HP or less, and he does also have Oz on the field, which can complicate things. Going to official here is pretty much always the play though. If you stay in with Kuching, then she can die to Oz's attack, and potentially give Klee turn advantage. I honestly kind of still have him in checkmate though, just because my summons are on the field. If they weren't, and I did stay in with Kuching, I might be in a little bit of a spicy situation. But the fact that they chip down Klee so much means that Collei can kill her even without Floral Sidewinder. This wasn't actually that close, but 1 HP character with element applied to them and enemy burst effect on them makes for good thumbnail content, I guess.
Yay, I did it! Oh wait, no I didn't.
yeah, that's basically the end. I would have really liked to get a clip of the round 1 floral sidewinder KO because it has happened before and I did get someone to forfeit within the first 2 minutes. But no, instead you just get that Klee overload game, which, Floral Sidewinder did actually put in a lot of work. If you actually did watch all 30 minutes of that, props to you.